Right, first up, the National Youth Day celebration is currently underway at Peter Mokaba Stadium in Polokwane. The event commemorates the uprising led by learners and the youth in June of 1976, marking a pivotal moment in South Africa's history. Deputy President Paul Mashatile is expected to deliver the keynote address. For more on the story now, let's bring in reporter Katlego Nyoni, who's live for us at the Peter Mokaba Stadium. This is in Polokwane, Limpopo. So Katlego, very good morning to you today. Are we expecting the commemoration to start there, and what can we expect from this commemoration?
Well, certainly, Mkolisi, good morning to you and to our viewers at home as well. Yes, certainly indeed, these are the background visuals where the 2024 Youth Day celebrations at the old Peter Mokaba Stadium are going to take place. The Deputy President there, Paul Mashatile, is expected to, of course, deliver that keynote address inside that marquee that our viewers have just seen. We expect that program to get underway shortly after 11. Before then, there will also be opening remarks by the newly elected Premier of the Limpopo province. We have not seen multitudes of young people yet arriving at the old Peter Mokaba Stadium. However, they are expected to come and listen in as the Deputy President delivers that particular address. Of course, looking to the myriad of challenges that young people throughout the country continue to face. Of course, Mkolisi, entrepreneurship is one of those areas where government believes that the youth can find opportunities to sustain themselves. And as we delve deeper into entrepreneurship, according to the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development, South Africa has about 2 million small, micro and medium enterprises. Now, 2/3 of these small businesses are apparently fail within the first 5 years after they have been formed. But to unpack more on entrepreneurship and the role played by young businessmen and women, of course, we are joined by the CEO of the National Youth Development Agency, that is Wasim Karim. Mr. Karim, thank you very much for speaking to us. You know, the United Nations Conference on Trade and Industry says about 2/3 of SMMEs in South Africa fail. As the National Youth Development Agency, looking ever since you were established, what have been some of your most, demanding challenges with regards to getting young people to go into business in order to sustain themselves?
Yeah, good morning, Katlego, and good morning to your viewers as well, right? And a happy Youth Day to everybody. So I think the statistic that you quoted is not only relevant to South Africa, but around the world. You know, we know small businesses, many of them fail in their first couple of years. Does that mean we shouldn't establish small businesses? By no means, right? Small businesses are the lifeblood of many economies around the world. And it's critical that we continue to support, in particular, young people to start up their own enterprises. Because South Africa also has a much lower participation rate globally of small enterprises. We still see the trajectory of a young person as being from going to school, going to university, and getting a job. Yeah. So I think promoting entrepreneurship is critical. But underpinning this, what's very important is for the South African economy to grow, right? Because if there is growth, if there is investment, it means there's more money flowing in the economy, which means small businesses are more likely to succeed. So really, our core focus has to be on economic growth. And then investment in young people will start to generate the kind of return of investments that we'd like to see.
And Wasim, now we are in the 7th administration, the government of national unity. How do they then juggle and move forward in terms of creating an environment conducive enough to propel economic growth? Because we have seen the real gross domestic product, for example, contract by 0.1%. I mean, these are some of the economic indicators that don't really instill confidence in entrepreneurs, because you do need that conducive environment for economic growth. How can young people then tap into this environment and make sure that they make a living for themselves outside of getting jobs?
Right. So I think that's a great question, right? And I think we started off with the economy needs to grow. What does the economy need in order to be able to grow? And a lot of that work was already started in the 6th administration, right? Where we started to put in place structural reforms. We started to do a lot of work around energy. Now you're starting to see that generating some return. We have not had load shedding for 80 days. I know many people thought post-election it would return. It hasn't, right? So our energy crisis is being resolved. At Transnet, there's a lot of good work going on in resolving the challenges in the ports. Connectivity is another one, right? And you really see this close working relationship between business and government in fixing the issues in the economy, and that's going to help our economy to grow. But another point that we always make is that we don't always expect young people to have to wait for growth in the economy to be able to access opportunities, right? And I think one of the things we've done is implement the youth employment intervention, the employment stimulus, which gives young people access to hundreds of thousands of opportunities, which enable them to better their prospects and better their lives, yeah?
And you know, in the past, there's been concerns by some young people that are actively participating in business that have sort of stopped trying to penetrate the labor market, and they have complained, you know, that the NYDA is not as visible. Would you say you are really visible to young people that are in desperate need for funding?
So I think it's the NYDA looks to. And the NYDA doesn't exist in isolation, it exists within a wider government, right? So the NYDA, in collaboration with government, the private sector, and civil society, we've really built a partnership where we want to enable a South Africa where every young person has a place to go. Now that's a very long-term ambitious target that we wish to have, right? But how we really see it unfolding as the world changes as well into a more digital kind of economy is to have opportunities where young people can access them online in a data-free, inclusive manner, over the phone, via toll-free call centers, and of course in person. The NYDA has 44 centers across the country. The Department of Employment and Labor has more than 200 centers. We know we have the Small Enterprise Development Agency, which is now merging with the Small Enterprise Finance Agency. So we have a number of institutions, right? I mean, you should never look at the NYDA in isolation. It's a critical piece of the puzzle, but all of these organizations working in partnership is critical for young people's development, yeah?
Wasim, thank you very much for your time, for speaking to us on SABC News this morning. Kolisi, that's the CEO of the National Youth Development Agency, Wasim Karim, talking to us there about the role that the NYDA plans to play going forward in terms of assisting those entrepreneurs in the country. We are still waiting for the main program in Kolisi to begin. It has not yet started. We have seen some people arrive, but it has not really been the core crowd that this particular event is targeting, which of course is young people. Kolisi?
And Katlaho, just on the same breath, there are no today's theme for the commemoration is actively embracing the socio-economic gains of our democracy. What is the sense there in the broader sense when you speak to some of the youth there in Limpopo? Do you feel like they're enjoying some of those gains?
Well, Kolisi, that particular theme for this year, actively embracing the socio-economic gains of our democracy, relatively speaks to young people trying to harness what is currently available, despite the contractions that we've seen in the economy, despite the stagnation and the fluctuations there that are not really yielding impressive results conducive enough for economic growth. For example, according to the labor market dynamics in South Africa, about 13.8% of young people in Limpopo are discouraged job seekers. We have seen the overall unemployment statistics increase for unemployed young people in contrast to the national average of 32.9%. So certainly young people are really discouraged, but we will certainly hope to hear what the Deputy President Paul Mashatile will have to say in terms of addressing this plethora of challenges that have been an issue affecting the youth. Kolisi?
All right, Katlaho, leave it here for now. No doubt touch base with you a bit later on in the program.